wide.
Roger Kluivas-Shek frees the pass away. Kluivas-Shek, a little bit of space here. Roger Kluivas-Shek with his step will look to use it.
Leonard Brown, good to see him running. Got a pass away, and welcome back to Anton Leonard Brown.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening and welcome into the breakdown. Well, the boys are back. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Anton Leonard-Brown and Will Jordan as well. The Chiefs' perfect season continues, but could a couple of our other Kiwi teams be in trouble? These guys could be in trouble a little bit later on because we've got one of New Zealand's best referees, Ben O'Keefe, joining us on the program. You'll have to be on your best behaviour. Jeff Wilson, Sir John Kerwin, Mills Muliaina.
You need to be on your best behaviour because you're grumpy tonight.
I don't know
You're
where
grumpy.
to start. I don't know where to start, Sir John Kerwin. And to get the #1 referee in New Zealand, I've got some big questions for him. But I'm not happy. And it's not just because my Highlanders aren't playing well. There's nothing funny about that. Show some respect.
There's only one
when you were 0-8 down in Hamilton, where was I? Actually, I was on the Chiefs then, wasn't I? Yeah.
Well, all that matters is where they are now. But one major thing from the weekend was relief, seeing Will Jordan back out there for the first time in 8 months, JK.
Yeah, it's been a long haul from me. When I read the article the other day about how long he's been out, I didn't think it was that long, Mills, but that was pretty tough. Came straight back into it, though. I think it's good for New Zealand rugby. Where does he play, though? Is he a winger? Is he a fullback? What are we doing there? So I straight into controversy. But is he a Forrest Gump, Mills? I mean, and I mean that in the most beautiful sense, because when I talk about a Forrest Gump, is they look slower than they are. So when you see him on the field, he looks slower, but he's actually going a lot faster. He just seems to be so deceptive.
Yeah, he's very, very quick. I love the fact that he's been out for a long, long time, Kirsty. You know, didn't go on end-of-year tour, but almost seemed like, yeah, he didn't really miss a beat. I mean, some of the stuff that he came back, that long pass that we've just seen in the opener there, there's something that we haven't sort of seen in his game. So the confidence to be able to do that, considering the injury that he's had, and also we've not really known. I've been unsure about what injury he did have, Jeff.
He wasn't hesitant at one stage or at any stage during that game. He took contact like he's taken contact before. He looked as though he was confident. He understood his role. He looked like a fullback. And all of a sudden, I write down another name and go, come on, mate, just one more week on back of it. And here's what, the Crusaders' chances have significantly improved now with him in the field. If he stays healthy, he stays fit, playing fullback for that side, their chances of winning this competition are better than they've been all season.
But he's an All Black wing, is that what you're saying?
No, he's an All Black fullback.
There's a few of them, aren't there? There are a few of them, and this just muddies the picture even more. But let's talk about a couple of the midfielders. Anton Leonard-Brown, back, game number 100. It took him 3 years to get there. You were there from the very start, his first rooming, Mills.
Yeah, he was. Man, it's a long time ago. I think he was 19 when he first sort of started. But yeah, a magical night for Anton. I think from a playing point of view, he sort of fitted in really nicely. He led from the front, the contact that he got into, considering he was out with a shoulder injury. But also hearing him talk to you guys after the game in terms of the pressure he'd been under because the other midfielders have been playing so well. So yeah, it was a great night for him.
Yeah, I think what do you bring? If you're a guy like Anton Leonard-Brown, what difference are you going to make? When you look at the level of the ability in our midfield, I think he brings calmness and voice. I think those around him play better when he plays. Now, you might not see him do, spectacular stuff. He does everything brilliantly, but I think that's his X factor. I think he'd give you 10 confidence and your 13 confidence. And I think that, him being back there, it's a leadership role. And obviously he's works tirelessly and he's got all those, All Black sort of skills.
I think he's a winner. He's a winner. He knows how to win. He knows how to help this group. He's clearly been helping this group and that midfield that's been playing while he's been injured and doing a great job of getting them across the line, and Dub been going up and performing. Look, he was really, really good for his first game back. I mean, introducing yourself back into Super Rugby, no club rugby, nothing else, just going in and doing that for both of these guys. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck did the same thing. Didn't have a huge impact on the game, but for him, it's just another, 55, 60 minutes he got under his belt. He'll improve from there as well.
46 minutes for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
46?
46 minutes. Were we expecting bigger things from him against Moana Pacifica?
No, I think he just needed to get back into it. Yeah, I don't know why they take him off so early. I think at some stage, if you're going to give him a crack at the World Cup, what I'd do is I wouldn't take him off, I'd put him on the wing. I'd play him for 50, 60 minutes at 12 mils and then whack him out to the wing. If he wants to make the World Cup, we're going to have to see him play another position, I think, with Anton coming back, you know. And we talk about it all the time. Who do you leave out, right? Will Jordan's back. If Goldie wants them to play fullback, who do you leave out?
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. But what I've loved about all three of them is the return to play. They've gone straight back into it, Chris. Like, man, I don't know, what they've been doing or sort of how it sort of looks, but usually it takes about 2 or 3 weeks before they get up to sort of speed. And perhaps that's why, Roger only got given 46 minutes just in case, he, soft tissue injuries and that. But I was really impressed about those three players coming back and just fitting in as if they weren't even out for that long.
Yeah, great news, isn't it? All three of them play a big role for New Zealand and for their franchises as well. Time now to talk Super Rugby with Chemist Warehouse. Nurofen available at Chemist Warehouse. Literally all of us just sat there shaking our heads. How good was that to watch? You were there in person. You got to see it live, Jeff.
Best team try in Super Rugby history.
History.
Best team try in Super Rugby history. There's been individual tries, which are remarkable. We saw one from Amoni Narawa in the game, which was remarkable. We've seen Christian Cullen go the length of the field. But in terms of the number of hands that went through, the counter-attacking, the support play off the ground, you've got outside backs, you've got inside backs, and it's a prop that finishes it with I'm going to say a left foot sidestep. I'm not sure, but George Dyer goes off his left foot, powers his way through. He had 3 guys on his outside. He needed to score that try, but I think just a remarkable indication exactly why the Chiefs are the #1 team in Super Rugby.
On fire. They are on fire. Got some people to come back, like Anton Leonard-Brown. He'll just keep getting better. But I just love the way they're playing. I just think they're playing a style of rugby. I like the way they're attacking. I think it's creating some bigger decisions than we're normally seeing from the defence, which is creating more gaps. So long may it last.
If we take a look at the Super Rugby Pacific table, the Chiefs are well and truly on the top, and whether or not they can be caught this season remains to be seen. But with 4 rounds to go, you wouldn't think so. The Brumbies in second place, followed by the Blues, only just, the Crusaders, the Hurricanes and the Highlanders. Absolutely nowhere to be seen on this one. How the next 4 rounds plays out is going to be seriously interesting, isn't it, Jeff?
That was very emphatic from you.
Well, here
the Highlanders are nowhere to be seen. They're 1 win out of being in the 8th spot. So OK, they're a long way away. All right, Mills, you go while I try and recover from what's just happened.
I think they can still, even looking at it, they can still make it. The Reds is probably going to be, they'll be fighting it out with the Reds. I think the Drua and the way they're sort of playing their home games that they've got as well.
That is the story of the year.
What?
Fijian Drua. That is the story of the year.
We've just got a team that's undefeated. That's the story of the year.
Yeah, but that's OK. We expect that sometimes. But the Drua have actually done exactly what World Rugby and Super Rugby have asked them. They've established themselves. You do not want to go up there. You do not want to go up there and play. They've just beaten the Hurricanes. They've beaten the Crusaders at home. And for me, it's a massive, massive call out to Moana Pacifica to go back to up here, right? Because it is a extra. If that game last night, or the other night at Eden Park, last night at Eden Park, if that's in up here, they win, right? And I just think they have found this balance between playing Super Rugby but also keeping their Fijian flair. And for me, that's the story. We wanted Pacifica rugby to benefit, and they have taken it with both hands. And I really hope they make the top 8.
Well, winning is just an expectation for Fiji now in Fiji, isn't it, Mills?
Yeah, it is. And look at the crowds. I mean, we've spoken about the crowd numbers as well when you turn up, but the love of the game there is definitely there. I agree with you, JK. I think Moana Pacifica need to really think long and hard about sort of what it looks like in up here. I know, you know, there's challenges around the facilities and things like that, but, you know, perhaps they just possibly need to actually go and do it and then fix it along the way.
The Blues gave them an opportunity by not selecting their strongest side, and they took it the Moana side. And they were very, very unlucky. In fact, I think very unlucky not to have won that game. The Blues did enough. It was important for them. You talk about the improvement of teams, though. The Hagairu showed that. That's what they did for the national side. I think that's what you'll see from the Fiji and Drua. We'll see an improvement from the national side there as well. But look, I think the Blues...
Are they in trouble?
Have
you seen enough from them?
I think they are in trouble. I think they've got a real challenge in front of them. I think they're in trouble.
A third.
They've got the Crusaders.
Trouble of what? Trouble of what?
You think they're playing the sort of rugby that's going to challenge the Chiefs or the Crusaders? You think they're playing the quality rugby you need to beat the top sides in this competition?
I think that...
Are they timing their run? Are they that good?
No, I think that to get that win last night is absolutely fundamental. Did they deserve it? Question mark. Did they get it? Yes. Did the Crusaders get it in Drua in Fiji? No. They're the type of games that you just need to win, right? Let's forget about the scrums at the end. However, they are third. I don't think you can compare. I don't even think the Crusaders are playing their best rugby. I don't think the Blues are playing their best rugby.
They won by 30 points.
The Chiefs are.
40 points.
The Chiefs are. The Chiefs are playing great rugby. The Crusaders are not playing their best yet, and neither are the Blues playing their best yet, and the Highlanders haven't played anything yet.
Yeah, and I accept that. I've got no issues with that.
So all I'm saying is, when do you want to peak, Goldie? Do you want to peak early in the competition?
Yeah, but you've got to show some signs. You've got to show some signs and some individuals.
You're not worried, Mills?
I don't think so. I think there are times. I mean, there's a number of their key players that haven't really sort of fired a shot yet, and that's probably the worrying part for other teams, because you get them into a finals and you get them sort of, you know, humming. I think they can be an actual danger. The thing is, the difference between this year and last year is they came in really solid, didn't they? You know, the consistency. They were a #1 team. I think they're trying to, you know, find a different way to win. They've had lots of injuries. I still think, come the finals, they are a dangerous team to look out for.
Well, if the Blues aren't in any trouble, the Hurricanes potentially are. Remember how they started off the season? Yes, they probably had an easier draw than most over the first 5 rounds, but they lose to the Drua in Fiji, a game that you needed to bank, JK, and their final 3 games, the Chiefs and Blues away and the Crusaders at home.
Ouch.
Yeah.
You need to beat the Drua. That's just like, ouch. Because you cannot afford to drop. Well, what do they need to stay in the 8?
Well, the 8's not a problem. It's staying in the 4.
It's too weird.
Yeah.
Staying in the 4. So now the Brumbies are the team now that have got the advantage over the Hurricanes. So that's the significant... look, it's going to be a really difficult, tough run home. It's a big stretch, whether or not any of their players need to get rested at some point in those 3 games as well. The upside of that, though, is you make ground up, right? If you beat one of those teams that's above you, then all of a sudden the gap closes significantly. But that's yeah, that hurts. That really does hurt them. And it was pretty much a full-strength side that went to Fiji.
Yeah.
They've missed out on a massive opportunity. You talk about opportunities, that's why I talk about, look, Moana Pacifica side, it was the bottom team in the competition. The Blues have missed out on a really important bonus point. I mean, bonus points will be the difference between whether you might end up in 4th, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, and who you play in that first round, that first knockout match.
So the Hurricanes, the Highlanders would just be happy to make the top 8, and they still can, right? But the Hurricanes do not want to be out. Well, they don't want to be 6 or 7.
Or 5. If they're 5, all of a sudden you could be playing the Brumbies away, or the... I mean,
That's a tough run also. When you think the Chiefs, the Blues and the Crusaders, that's a tough run leading into the playoffs anyway, you know. So that is huge in terms of the physicality that they have to bring in, sort of how beaten up they will be come the finals.
It's going to be an interesting final 4 weeks. Hold on to your hats, that's all I can say. But the Highlanders, Jeff, they're in serious trouble right now of not actually making the 8. What does their run home look like? Have you seen anything from them so far to give you that glimpse of hope?
Well, other than the fact I'm a former Highlander, I'm thinking they're going to go deep down to the well and find a way to get some best form, but it's not looking good right now. But they do two games at home, the Reds and the Rebels. I think if they win those 2 games, they'll probably sneak in. But reality is whether they're going to be competitive in the way that they're playing right now, and can they win those games? The Rebels they're being niggly. They're playing some really good rugby. I've given them some respect, no doubt about it. But I'm frustrated by the fact that they're just making far too many errors. They're missing far too many tackles and defensive reads. They've got a lot of work to do. I think they're just running out of time, to be honest. They'll be disappointed and frustrated with where they're at.
Do we bring back the draft, Mills? Right, you pick your first 28 players or 30 players and then the rest go into a draft, because are we just seeing signs of having 660 players overseas? I mean, Richie Mo'unga's going next year. We're going to be a couple of guys down. There's people going overseas. Do we need to get back to the draft?
We are servicing 6 sides though, right?
Moana.
Yeah, including Moana Pacifica, because most of those players are coming and playing through our provincial union system. So New Zealand rugby is servicing 6 sides. I'm just not sure we can support that in terms of the sort of depth that you're talking about. The Moana Pacifica team, Mills, has pretty much had to roll out their same side every single game, right?
No resting.
No resting there's no weeks off for those players.
Sorry, excuse my ignorance. You're saying that the New Zealand Rugby Union pays Moana Pacifica players?
Well, they're part of where do the players come from? Who have they played for?
Yeah, and I understand that.
So in the end, ultimately, they're part of our ecosystem. So all of a sudden, the depth, and I'm not against it. What I'm saying is, though, it just means that all of a sudden there's 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and that's what the Highlanders have faced. You get injuries like they faced earlier on, and they have to introduce young players who can't quite there. But their performance is linked to the fact that they just haven't been able to, 1, stay healthy, but 2, they've been inconsistent, particularly in their backline. They just haven't been able to perform against the top sides. Look, I think we can sneak in. But for them,
would that be success?
Yeah, I was going to say
that's not success. No, it's not success. This is not a season at the moment they'll look at and go they're proud of.
You talk about the players not performing at the Highlanders, but no matter who the Chiefs bring in, they seem to be successful. It's the environment that they've created there, right, Mills? For guys like Dan Rona, who literally didn't have a Super Rugby contract, he doesn't look out of place in this Chiefs side.
But it's also balance too, Chris. So I think it's a balance of having those. Yes, an environment that's really good, but the guys in the environment, the leaders, have fought through some hard, couple of years in terms of the losses that they have had. The Highlanders, they lack a couple of those leaders because they're chopping and changing. They're directors,
Sean Stevenson, Damien McKenzie. You put those two players in the Highlanders, I'm pretty sure the team will be going just fine. They might not be a top-tier team, but that's the challenge for them. I agree. The Chiefs are they're stacked with form players and great confidence and are clearly well coached.
Well, when did you last see a Chiefs team actually play like this? When was the last time?
When they won it.
Well, back-to-back years.
Yeah.
And they won it in a different way back then. They were tough in their defence. Actually, I'll say that they're tough this time. Their defence is outstanding.
I mean, and also they had the professor there, and he was doing some stuff that was pretty special, changed to counter-attack. Actually, one of the things that they used to do, the shielding got banned because, guys were training to run back and do holes. But, yeah, probably back then, since they've been that good.
It's been a long time, hasn't it? It's been a long time, nearly a decade. Let's take a look at our Gillette head-to-head from the weekends. It was the 2 captains locking horns in the loose forwards. Who did it better? Was it Sam Cane or Billy Harmon? The stats say Billy Harmon, Jeff. But if you look at how the 2 played, who was it for you?
One of those guys had to do everything. The other one just had to do his job. And Sam Cane did his job. And I tell you what, and his tackle percentages, there's a couple of that he fell off that he would like to have. But I tell you what, his physicality through the course of the 80 minutes, Mills, once again, he doesn't fall off. He doesn't drop off. He continues through the course of the whole entire game. He keeps hitting and hitting and hitting. Harmon's just having to do too much right now, carrying so much of the load. He's playing really good rugby, and I can understand why the next level are interested in him.
Yeah, I like the fact that when you look at a team that is struggling and guys, stand out, Harmon he's really leading front, but he is having to work a lot harder than what Sam Cane is. But in saying that, Sammy's decision making, and it's always sort of difficult when you are in a team that are going really well and you're leading them well, but also, what's the impact of some of that stuff that he's actually doing? The hits, even if he missed that one that you're talking about, but what's he doing, off the ball that it's, allowing other guys to actually score too?
We don't take 3-7s to the World Cup.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, but Artie be your third one, right? But the thing I like about Sam Cane and Dalton Papali'i is I reckon we've got it covered. You know, I think Sam's back to some of his best form. I think Dalton can come on or Dalton can start it and Sam can finish, and I think that's really good for us because it's such an attrition rate. How old is Billy?
I'd say he'd be mid-20s,
Yeah.
26, 27.
I think he's been their best week in, week out. I think he's playing good rugby, but I don't think that he'll probably get ahead of a couple of the Chiefs boys that can play 6, 7 and 8, and one in particular. So, plays work. You got to take your hat off to him because he just plays hard week in, week out.
Yep, and you're not even including in that conversation Ethan Blackadder yet, who's about, I think, a couple of weeks away from returning from the Crusaders.
So here's a question for you, because I was thinking about before, Mills, when you brought it up. Do you think, so Anton Lienert-Brown's come straight back into it, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's come straight back into it. Can you come straight back into All Black rugby? You know, if Blackadder doesn't play for the rest of the tournament, is he still available? Can you play him in the championship and say, good luck, son?
I think you can with a Blackadder. Man, that guy has got an engine on him, you know. And that's why I've been so impressed about those 3 guys coming back, you know, so well. I think it depends on the player. I think Blackadder, he's awesome. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing him sort of come back and the stuff that he does. I remember that test that they played in, I think it was Brisbane. He was just everywhere. And I think, you know, we need guys like that. We need some, he's got a lot of mongrel. So
I'm assuming it was Luke Jacobson you're talking about.
No, that's what I've been talking about.
I mean, you invented positions for players.
That's
before.
true. That's true. That is true.
Well, it's time now for our Musashi Power Play. Musashi, available at Chemist Warehouse. I never thought we'd be analysing this, but Jeff is going to analyse some scrums.
No, we're not analysing.
Oh, what is that? What? Please don't tell me this is the highlight.
It is. It's not a highlight. This is a concern. And we're going to get into some comments that Wayne Smith has just put in on the New Zealand Herald, I think, an article talking about his concerns with the game. In fact, he's been very scathing of the game. Now, look, this is a dominant scrum. And the Crusaders, I was in Christchurch, they used it well. The Blues have used it well. People at home don't want to see this. Now, don't get me wrong, this is important for these sides to go out and try and win. But all of a sudden, I'm looking at this going, you know what? Is this what it takes now? And I was in Christchurch, and I knew the moment that the force loosehead prop gets hooked after 25 minutes, that they're in trouble, right? And when you can use it to win games, or you scrum for penalties, then you kick to touch, and you line out more, okay? And this is where I think I had the Crusaders up there for a very specific reason, the fact they scored 3 line-out drive tries and a couple of set-piece moves that were off scrums. The fact they completely dominated the game for them. In the end, there was no way the Force was going to win that. So I just don't think that's the future of the game. And funnily enough, guess what?
What do you do, mate?
I think it's only a matter of time. Here's the solution for me, is the fact that I think it's only a matter of time that World Rugby clicks onto the fact that people don't want to watch that either.
Okay, but what do you do?
Well, you've got to make it a situation where there's no resets. You've got to make it a situation that you can't kick for touch.
What about
to get a line-out drive?
What about if you go into the game and each team is only allowed 5 scrums each, where, I mean, obviously there's knock-ons and things like that, but maybe, you know, it could be a rule where you go, you're only allowed five scrums, and that's it. It's resets counted.
Well, there was one period of playing the game for the Crusaders, it was stuck in one spot for 3.5 minutes. It never moved through resets and penalties. Because they got a penalty, they went to another scrum.
What was the Blues' last 6-7 months?
I just don't think that that's what we want as fans. Now, look, I'm biased, clearly, because I'm a big fan of the skill game. I go and watch the top side in the competition, and they don't rely on their scrum. They counter-attack, they've got balance, they still use a line-out drive for Samason and Takiaho, but it's not their primary attacking mode. For teams, that's all they've got. Remember we watched the Brumbies for a whole season, and Stephen Moore, that's all they did for 4 months. Seriously.
Yeah, well, Wayne Smith's sick of it as well. He was on the All Blacks podcast. You can go and listen to that, where you get all your podcasts from. Slam the state of rugby. He watched a game a couple of weeks ago. It was between the Force and the Highlanders in Perth. He said for the first time in his life, he turned the game off at half-time and watched an animal documentary, Mills.
Lions in the Serengeti.
I didn't know why he's watching that late at night. 6 hours behind.
Was watching. It could have been a great game, but it wasn't.
No, it
5 yellow cards.
Terrible game.
But he had some solutions, didn't he? He wasn't just slamming
He'll always have solutions. And I think the frustrating thing for us, there's too many laws. So even the Blues game last night, every second ruck, the ref's got his hand out for a penalty. And this is what Wayne's saying. You know, what's happening then is they're kicking for the corner, they're mauling, there's scrums, re-scrum. And you start, like, I pre-recorded the Blues games, and I'm just fast-forwarding going, fast forwarding it.
I like that solution that he's made, hasn't he? I mean, if you kick for the corner, the opposition get it.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot more exciting. I mean, they just need to sit down and they start talking about these things. I mean, it's a lot better than going in the corner watching a line-out drive. You know, you still got to come out. You know, you still.
And Goldie, you want to start a petition. Goldie wants to start a petition, Mills. He wants to get rid of the jackal.
Oh, look, hands in the ruck is killing the game. I mean, everyone thinks they can steal it at any time, and particularly at lower grades. And I just want one grade to try playing where all you're doing is contesting for possession with weight over the ball, pushing past the ball, and it's the only way you can win it. You get to a point, it's just a mess. And you think about an amateur referee who doesn't even have he doesn't know ARs. He's got no one telling him. He hasn't got a TMO talking to him in his ear. He's having to paint this picture. If we don't think outside the square, if we don't take this game forward, like Wayne Smith is talking about, and make it more attractive and easier to referee and more fun to play, and for more people to play, I think we're going to lose the battle very quickly.
Do you think there would be enough natural turnovers, Mills, without the jackal?
Well, you have to commit more numbers to the breakdown. What does that do? You commit more numbers, it opens up space.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any in terms of what Jeff's saying, but it would clean it up.
But you can counter-ruck. Yeah, you can
counter-ruck. I actually spoke to World Rugby about this about 150 million years ago, and they were concerned that without the jackal, opposition sides would hang on to the ball for too long.
Well, counter-ruck. If you hit counter-ruck and you commit and you don't get it, guess what? There's space to attack for.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think there's enough errors in the game now through the dynamicism. Is that a word? Probably
Yep.
not. Is it? I'll take it.
Maybe not the way you said it, but it is a word.
Around the ball getting dropped or big hits. So, yeah, I reckon we should start a position, get rid of the jackal, but we got to stop trialling stuff and just actually do stuff. And I think that's the beauty of Super Rugby this year. They've actually gone, we're not going to wait for World Rugby. We're just going to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to hear from Ben O'Keefe very shortly about what it's been like for referees, these new laws in Super Rugby in 2023. Well, time now for our Form 15. Now, this one was picked by Crowd Goes Wild host, reporter, and I should say, Chiefs enthusiast. I'm pretty sure he's their #1 fan since back in 1996, so there may be a few Chiefs in this side. He has selected for his Form 15 this week Ethan de Groot, Brodie McAllister, Tyrell Lomax, Tupou Vaa'i, Scott Barrett, Akira Ioane, Sam Cane, Luke Jacobson, Brad Weber, Damien McKenzie. I'm starting to lose count of the number of Chiefs in here. Levi Aumua, Dan Rona. Thought maybe he could add an extra one there at 12. Lester Whainganuku, Imoni Narawa and Sean Stevenson. Before these guys get stuck into this team, let's hear it from James himself.
Kia ora, breakdown whānau. Yes, I know, 8 Chiefs, but I can justify it. I'll get back to that soon. There were 3 Crusaders, Scott Barrett, Brodie McAllister with the hat-trick there, the hooker, and Lester Whainganuku, still in amazing form. Tyrell Lomax had a pretty good game up from Fiji, so he sneaks in. Also, Akira Ioane, so good. The offloads, yards after contact. There are Highlanders in there, Jeff. Yes, I've picked Ethan de Groot and just the one Highlander. Sorry, Jeff. I thought Billy Harmon was in there, but unfortunately Sam Cane got it because you know what? 50 points away from home means that you get 8 players. Sean Stevenson, all that flair, the Benji Marshall flick, Imoni Narawa with arguably the individual try of the season, Daniel Rona with the perfect all-round centres game, and the best kick under advantage I've seen for a long time there, the little chip for Sean to score. And McKenzie, I know he played a lot of the game at fullback, but it doesn't matter, he was named at 10. Weber outshining the All Blacks incumbent there and showing serious toe and a good in-your-face fend. In your face, Jeff, did you see it? I did. I think this team would win the World Cup final. By the way, Levi Aumua, you cannot deny Moana Pacifica, even though the ref did. Awkward.
Oh, that is too good.
I think you got James's title wrong. He's a Chiefs tragic.
Yes, that's right, JK, that's
not
right.
supporter. That's different.
Well, what do you actually think of his team? Is it well balanced? Are there any holes or exclusions for you? Maybe Anton Leonard-Brown deserved to be in this mix?
Yeah, I would have put Anton in there. I think he would have gone straight in there with his form. I thought Aumua could have done a bit more. He did some really nice stuff, but I expected him to be just a little bit more dominant in the midfield there. Probably didn't get enough ball to do that. But I think finally, Goldie, someone's gone back to a form team. And if you think about form, wasn't bad.
This is another hit at you.
I haven't had anything to do with the last 3 teams. I mean, I've let them pick their sides. So look, this is a quality team. These guys have all played well. I think you can never underestimate the effort and work that Scott Barrett does. Yeah. Like he's just like every week. It's week in, week out. Every time he plays the Crusaders, actually nothing changes with him. Continues to lead from the front, the captain of that side. Tupavai is an interesting one as well, the shifts that he's making. And I thought Arkoi was really good too. I mean, how blessed are they? I love the fact we interviewed him, with 20 to go, and he said, "It's all right, Brody, I've got it covered. I had no worries at all. Take a rest, mate, have a week off."
He also said, "Sky, give me a job."
Yeah, he did ask for that job. It's coming later, mate. Relax. Good team. Leicester Whanganuku making waves again, just keeping everyone on notice, the fact that he's certainly still there. The great thing about this is there's none of these guys that aren't All Black.
Exactly.
Or aren't incumbent All Black. The pressure comes on, and the pressure's coming on, and you talk about teams timing their runs, so we need to see the best of some of these guys.
What does it tell you about some of these guys that aren't All Blacks? Nearly half the team.
Oh, they're hungry. I mean, you look at the way the Chiefs are playing, though. It's that environment that we sort of spoke about again. I like that sort of. I like the side that he picked. I mean, there are some incumbents that are starting to peak. Even David Havili, he's always been really, really solid too for the Crusaders since coming back from injury. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 or 4 weeks is going to be crucial for some of these guys.
His comments around Brad Weber outplaying Aaron Smith?
I'm not 100% sure of that. When the team's dominating like the Chiefs are, really easy to look good. Aaron Smith's just going and competing as hard as he can, but at the moment, it's behind a side that's just not dominating in areas that make him shine. Yeah,
look, what are we looking for? Is really interesting. I think halfback is the most intriguing position. The 3 halfbacks are quite similar that are in form at the moment. So, TJ Perenara coming back in, that loose forward type 9 I'm really interested in because they're all playing incredibly well. I agree with Goldie, hard for a halfback to dominate when your forward pack's not going forward. But are we going to look at a mix? That's all I'm thinking. That's all I'm interested in, which means that one of those similar halfbacks is going to miss out, and it ain't going to be Aaron Smith.
Well, still to come on the breakdown. We chat to referee Ben O'Keefe live very shortly, but first, Anton Leonard-Brown, the latest to join the Chiefs Centurion Club.
See, I'll be obviously nervous 90s at the moment, as a lot of cricketers know. 99 games, 1 off from the ton.
Yeah, I'm limping my way to Hundy, dislocated my shoulder at 98, high ankle sprain 99, and obviously you've managed to overtake me, but similar to you, I grew up watching Crusaders play, and in all honesty, that's who I dreamt of playing for.
And if we look at this footage, it's not a jersey you wear often, but I'm assuming you've still got that jersey tucked away somewhere.
Anton Leonard-Brown, has he scored on debut?
Yeah, I do. People probably underestimate my speed.
Clearly. And I think also, am I right to say you played Super Rugby before you played club or won a 10 Cup?
Leonard-Brown, over!
I dislocated my shoulder in the last game of school. Then I moved up to the Chiefs, dislocated my shoulder again, had to get surgery. After being out for a year, they said, "Don't worry, you won't play."
Charged by Anton Leonard-Brown!
But as you know, back then, there used to be quite a lot of injuries, so I ended up playing on the right sting, as you saw, and that was my first game back since high school.
Pretty cool moment. I don't think too many people have come straight from school, first game out, played Super Rugby, so sure to be on a Waikato draft question one day.
It's a bucket list for me, so hopefully. It's such an amazing region to play for. The fans are great through thick and thin. But I think it's the friendships you make, throughout your career off field, and there's been a lot of special people be a part of the Chiefs. And
Leonard-Brown looking for another. He explodes away.
I guess that's the thing I've enjoyed the most.
It's always a special moment when you get to bang this out after a game, isn't it?
Oh, you're in Japan now, are you?
No, I was actually on suspension now, but...
Oh, that's right. That was rude what you did.
Soft red card.
That was league-like, mate.
Oh, goodness, it's a shock. It's not too many, obviously, brothers who'd be able to play 100 games with their super franchise, so that's pretty special for your family. Super proud of you, and if there's an opportunity to get you a kick, I'll give it to you, but congrats, brother.
Too kind. Appreciate you, brother.
All good, mate.
Someone get me the tissues.
Oh.
Now, this is the time you have to be on your best behaviour. No, my hockey, my welcome back into the breakdown. Yes, we are joined by New Zealand's top rugby referee, Ben O'Keefe, right now. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on your Sunday. It has been noted by so many people that you seem to be in career best form right now. So what do you put that down to?
Oh, look, thanks everyone. I'm not sure about the career best form, but I'm just in a position where I'm enjoying my rugby. I'm loving it. And I reckon a lot of it's down to how the competition is going down here in Super Rugby. You know, it's exciting. So I'm just loving being part of it.
Ben, I've had a voce di corridoio this morning. Actually, the Pope rang early, Sunday. Now, you don't have to answer this, but just answer with a smile. The Pope said you've made the World Cup reffing squad for this year's World Cup. So just smile if it's true.
He can't not smile. He's a smiley guy.
It officially comes out next week, JK. So I'll need that phone number for the Pope next week.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to thank him.
Mate, no, if he doesn't get it wrong very often. How are you finding the new rules, Ben? Because you are in the form of your life. I've been getting a little bit frustrated with some of the time spent around the scrums, but has it changed for you on the field? Is it hard to actually referee, the 30 seconds or the 45 seconds?
I've absolutely loved the new rules and I get to experience it because at the start of the year I went from doing Super Rugby to a Six Nations game and then coming back into Super Rugby. And I remember flying home after doing my Six Nations game, which are different, but I was genuinely excited to come back to Super Rugby because it's faster, there's less stoppages, we're encouraged to use the TMO less, so more on-field live decisions. And I think the players have sort of taken that on board. And we're seeing some of the games now, and I think I was reading a stat before where the average points scored in games are up to about 60 points this year. So for me, that's an exciting game of rugby. That's an exciting competition, and the brand that we're wanting down here in the Southern Hemisphere. So I absolutely love it, and I think it makes it a lot better for us to be able to referee when we're out there in the middle.
I've got to ask you, Ben, then the fact that clearly you've tried to prepare yourself to referee at a Rugby World Cup, and their expectations are certainly something different from World Rugby, maybe than Super Rugby. But is there a sense maybe the gap's closing? Are they starting to like what we're doing here in the Southern Hemisphere?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're always sort of seen as the baby brother, or the competition down in the Southern Hemisphere, and there's all the trophies and that up north and the competitions they do. But I think they've looked at what we're doing, especially with the TMO. So the speed that we're actually delivering the yellow cards and the upgrade to red. And they're seeing that. They're seeing the amount of time it takes, the amount of time that actually the ball's been played in a game of rugby, the less amount of time that you see a referee on the big screen, which I think is always a good thing. They're looking at that and saying, well, actually, it's working down in the Southern Hemisphere. It's a trial we put on in Super Rugby. I think they're going to wait to the end of the competition, and hopefully, they might be able to actually use a bunker-like system in the World Cup this year. I know it's something they're looking forward to. It's what I'll look forward to, especially if they can do it, because I think it benefits the game greatly. It just means that we see more rugby and less of us referees on the big screen.
So Ben, presumably JK has gone down the right corridor when you're going to the Rugby World Cup, and there's obviously different rules over there that they've prioritised and the rules that are down here. How do they actually take that sort of split when you're looking at things that you prioritise? And if they're focusing on here in New Zealand, can you implement that straight away?
Well, the big thing they do before any tournament in the world, so Six Nations Rugby Championship, so especially before this World Cup, and we've actually already done it with the top coaches in the world. We had a meeting up in London. We asked the coaches, what do you want to see in the game? What do you want us to change? How do you want us to referee it? So we went through all the phases in the game, the scrum, the maul, the tackle, foul play. So there's a big collaboration around what the coaches want to see, how they want to coach their players, and then, as referees, how we implement that. So the collaboration's there, and I think, the last piece of that puzzle was what they were wanting to do around the TMO and around foul play. They wanted to see how we did in Super Rugby and if it was effective or not. So potentially leading into France at that World Cup, there'll be another meeting with all the referees, all the coaches, and we'll sign off on all the changes that they want to make. And I don't think there'll be too many, because I think the game where it is right now is pretty good. There'll be one or two around how we use the TMO, and I think once we do that, we'll look to showcase this at the World Cup, and hopefully it won't be much of a change, and we can just showcase the talents of the players and the teams, and I guess the competition that's going to be pretty tight up there in France this year.
Ben, Goldie wants to get rid of the jackal, and actually I'm going to sign that petition because I don't disagree. We do need to change something. Is that the hardest thing to get right as a referee? When you're on the field, are you getting that wrong a lot just because it's so hard to do?
It's not hard to do. It's difficult because the game's so fast and the players are so dynamic in that space that we have to decide in our head. Did that hand that slightly touched the ground before we went on the ball, is that a penalty? Is the hands passable? Is that always a penalty? So we're constantly having to do that. And it's probably only the hardest part of the game because there's more than 200 tackles or rucks in a game. So potentially, there's an opportunity for a jackal more than 100 times in that match. So as referees, we do find it difficult. We've also got a lot of very accurate jacklers who aren't just wearing 7s on their back anymore. We're getting jacklers out of 6, 8, 2s. I've seen some fullbacks get their head, down low to the ball as well. So it's a difficult part of the game, but one I enjoy it. I enjoy a good turnover, but it's true. I think, we've got to have a competitive game. And I think, the benefit of Super Rugby is that we're trialling all these innovations to try and develop and improve it. And maybe one year they'll Goldie will get his wish and, we'll look to get rid of the jackler. But I think it'll be remaining in there for at least this year.
Oh, look, I know that it'll be around for a long time, but I'm thinking a lot of the community rugby, considering the fact you've got years and years of experience. I've got another idea. You know how in 7s, when it's a shot at goal or it's a conversion, the team that's just been scored on has to go back to halfway. I find that one of the most frustrating things, right, is when a team scores, they have their huddle, you have to stop the clock. Why just not designate one guy to charge it down and the rest of those guys go back to halfway and we get ready to go again? Do you think that's a possibility? Would that work?
Yeah, definitely. Like my experience, I never experienced 7s because you've got to be pretty quick and fast. So I sort of missed that game. So I think back when the referees were doing that in 7s, it's a law that they have. And like any law that's implemented in World Rugby, they just need to be lobbied by someone like yourself, Goldie. And then, if it's something they want to do, then I think it's easily to be able to change.
Mate, obviously all us Kiwis, and I'm pretty pleased that we're not going in as favourites. We want the All Blacks to win. But you've coached in both hemispheres now. Who's refed in both hemispheres now? Who's your favourite besides us?
Look, definitely the All Blacks. I think you can never discount us. We've got the best players in the world, and this competition, Super Rugby, set them up really nicely. But you can't deny what France and what Ireland have been doing. Probably for the last 2 years now, consistently up in the North Six Nations and in their domestic competitions as well. But then again, it's a World Cup year. We then go into playoffs, and you can't. There's a lot of other teams now that are doing really well. I think Australia have been really good. You can't deny South Africa the way that they play as well. So look, it's going to be a really, really tight, a competitive World Cup, an exciting one. And I'm looking forward to it happening at the end of the season.
Ben, I'm not too sure if you saw the breakdown referee exam special where JK and Jeff actually sat through your referee's exam. They were both atrocious, and I think it's fair to say they appreciate what you do so much more now.
Do you know the results of that? I don't know the results of that.
I won.
According to who?
I knew the results. I knew the results live watching it, and I was cracking up. There are some pretty easy ones. There's some pretty hard ones as well. So, look, if we ever need to do a course, I'll be happy to take you through some.
You're just about to break up. You're just about to disappear.
Thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate it. And yes, early congratulations. We can't wait to officially hear the news this week.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Ben O'Keefe, New Zealand's top rugby referee at the moment.
I wanted to ask him one more question, actually, which was, I wonder if you coach... sometimes, Mills, you play in another hemisphere and it's a bit slower, you've got a bit more time. I wonder if the refs feel that, if it's faster down here or.
Yeah, well, they'd have an influence too, wouldn't they? I mean, that's the thing too, you sit up there and if it is sort of slower, then do they try and speed it up, so.
He anticipates the game really well. Yeah. He's got a great feel for the game. He knows when he can and shouldn't blow his whistle. I just think for Ben at the moment, he's setting a great standard for everybody else to look at and go, that's how you control your relationships with the players on the field as well. The fact he doesn't seem to get in a back and forward with anybody, really calm under pressure. But like I say, when you anticipate the game, he doesn't get tired. That's the difference.
That's what I was going to say.
He doesn't get fatigued because he's just, I've got a sense it's going there. I've got a sense it's going there. He's got shortcuts, just like Mills used to use. Just in the middle of the park, just how you get there.
I'm serious though, I still think they need to come back to the rule that I want. 3 repetitive penalties, someone gets sent off. Because the players, and it's not their fault, I'd do exactly the same, but last night I don't know how many guys came in from the side, right? And so it's another penalty. Then someone does this, that. After 3 penalties, you lose a guy to the bin. And then we'd start respecting the law, because the players, like, there's too many laws for the referee, so we need to start bringing in some...
Do you think then, with what he said, that the rules have actually like helped the way the Chiefs have been playing in terms of what he's sort of spoken about? Because they're the only team that have really been firing. I know there's other things, but can that be a factor?
Can I just say one thing? I reckon they're the fittest team in the competition. Their conditioning, for whatever reason, whatever they've done, I think they're a cut above. And you watch them, they never run out of puff. From 1 to 23, they don't get tired. The guy, Sam Cane's doing 80. He does his captain's interview. There's no problem. Like, they're on top of their games physically. And I know for a fact, I think they've only got 2 players who do over 5 minutes in a Bronco. That's everyone. Like, their conditioning levels are so good.
Can you explain to us that didn't have to do a Bronco what that means?
What that means?
Is that the old VO2 test?
No. It's bottom line, if you're under 5 minutes, I mean, you're pretty fit, right? You're in good position. The Bowden Barrett and that are running about 4:10, 4:12. Your average player's 4:40, 4:45.
What happened to the beep test?
What's that? Same thing. It's a test that pushes you in similar types of way, but this has become their standard.
So if you're under...
we should get JK to try some of this then, just to get a taste of it.
The Bronco?
Why not?
Breakdown Bronco.
Under 5, mate.
The 4 of us?
Under 15 minutes.
The 4 of us?
Oh.
But I think the main thing here is that Ben's enjoying our changes down here. And Jeff, you know, I don't like to say this, but you're right. We actually need to come up with a couple of things next year, the down year, right, after the World Cup, and just do some stuff.
Let's just pick a grade and try it. Pick a grade,
Yeah,
whatever it
rugby.
is. Well, no, it doesn't need to be
But
rugby.
people not turning up.
Just pick something.
Well, it's great that World Rugby are now looking at Super Rugby, right? That is something that Ben O'Keefe said. It sounds like he has been selected for the World Cup. The All Blacks will have to wait a little bit before that. It is not too far away, but before they go to France, they've got a couple of rugby championship matches right here in New Zealand, one against Australia in Dunedin and the other at Mount Smart Stadium against South Africa. Tickets will sell fast. Both of them aren't massive stadiums, and tickets will be available later this week. Well, we've talked a lot about the weekend that was. It was great to have a top referee on the show as well. But what about the weekend to come? This Saturday, set the alarms. You do not want to miss this game. The big derby between the Crusaders and the Blues. It's the reverse fixture in Christchurch this time around. JK, are you ready? Are the Blues ready for this one?
I think both sides, I mean, Goldie brought it up before, right? Have the Blues played their best rugby? No. Have the Crusaders played their best rugby? No. But at some stage, you need to make a run to the final. So I would say that both sides will be looking at this game as a real hit of form and take that into the finals.
How good is this going to be?
I can't wait for this one.
How good?
Game of the round, definitely. And also, given that they haven't sort of hit their straps, both sides, you know, trying to, you know, get to that sort of level down there. The last game they played was a great game too in Auckland, wasn't it? And so, man, it's mouth-watering stuff, Jeff.
I just hope they play some rugby. I actually hope they don't kick the ball away and they keep the ball in hand and they actually challenge each other with the talent that they have. I look at this matchup and the Blues need Bowden Barrett back. And that was clear on the weekend. They need his leadership. The interesting selection will be who starts at 12. Yep. Harry Plummer has been very good at 12. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is fit and available. Is Mark Talia going to be there, fit and available? Are we going to see the best of Caleb Clark? There's some really big question marks around the combination of the back line. Is it time now for Rieko Ioane, who's been good? Don't get me wrong, he hasn't been playing poorly. He's been playing, but he can play better. He can have a bigger impact. This is the game for me where he can really step up. And what do the Crusaders do in terms of their combinations and what they've got? Is this Cullen Grace's opportunity against Hoskins Sotutu to go, you know what, don't forget about me. I'm not a bad rugby player. So this is a great matchup.
Ooh.
This is down in Christchurch, but this, I think, will determine who ends up finishing second on the table at the end of the day.
Barrett, Tuivasa-Sheck, Ioane. You have to play that. You've got to play that if you're the Blues. So for me, it's a pretty easy selection, I think, with Roger, and I'd leave him out there this time. I'd leave him for as long as I could. The only thing that worries me a little bit about that is Havili has been playing a lot more, and you know what it's like, Mills, you've played a lot in the midfield. Those combinations are important, and probably that combination, you know, Rieko hasn't had someone steady inside him for a while.
Who you got?
What do you think?
I know.
What
do
a
you think?
ridiculous question to ask me.
Yeah, because once again, you're going to keep going with your heart. You're going to keep going with your heart, going with your heart. Does your head tell you that the Blues are the better side against the Crusaders right now in Christchurch?
I don't have a head. I've got two hearts.
Oh, you got two hearts. You're just not even going to listen. Mills, who you got?
I'm going for the Blues.
Man, I'd like to see the Blues win, but I think the Crusaders down home, too tough. I'd love to see, I think, the combination 9 and 10. I think Hotham, gets that 9. I think that's a big. I think
Wow.
he could be a biggie for the Crusaders, especially with Moonga there, because I mean that's a partnership that they haven't sort of really connected.
Well, who wins that 10 debate, Richie or Bodie this weekend?
Game on. Game on. All I care about is the fact I think the Crusaders will win this game. Who have you got?
Crusaders. It's an easy one. It's an easy one. But the Blues will be a different side. Yes, Beauden Barrett expected to be back. Patrick Tuipulotu as well. Mark Telea coming back from All Blacks rest. Hoskins Sotutu was out with illness. So it is a completely different side than the one you just saw at Eden Park. That is us. We are done and dusted for today. Great to have you joining us, and we'll see you in Christchurch.
But they give it away to Havili. Now the ball to Jordan, and he's in. Blues just a little flat-footed. Beauden Barrett changes everything with a great break up the middle. Jordan tried to make the tackle. They stop him just short of the line. Here's a great jump. Finley Christie stretches out. They go to the short side. Bit of space here for Papali'i. Storming run from the captain. He's going to